All right.
What
What it
up?
do? What it do?
What up, buddy?
We're here. It's special.
It is a special episode.
It's a
Different
special
time,
day.
different day.
Different time, different day, and this day is important.
It is.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And the reason that today's important is we are celebrating Mr. Chuck Schuldiner, and today would have been his 57th birthday.
It's crazy, dude. He's been gone
To,
for a long time.
yeah, he's been gone since 2001.
Fucking gnarly, man.
Yeah, and I felt that it's very important that we take some time to talk about the man, the myth, and the legend.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you brought forward this idea,
It
um,
was real short
as
notice, I know.
no, I, that's not even the issue. But just from knowing you for the 8 to 10 years off and on,
Mm-hmm.
like when you mentioned it, I was like, dude, fuck yeah, like as you mentioned in the last episode, like, oh, it might not be my forte or whatever, but like, I was like, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely, dude.
yeah. As I said, this is one that's really important for me, and like you said on the last one around is it's real important for the metal community as a whole.
Absolutely. And yeah, dude,
So
absolutely.
we sat here, we busted our fucking asses to get
Oh
as
yeah,
much shit as we could.
and we're still probably only going to be scratching the fucking surface, but
But we got a lot of cool information, and pretty much today we're gonna kind of go through the timeline and kind of, you know, that we're just gonna kind of follow through what happened with Chuck and what happened with Death and his other band, Control Denied.
yeah, this is pretty much a lot of death stuff, but there is kind of a hyper focus on Chuck himself.
Because, as I said, if it wasn't for him, it metal wouldn't be where it's at today.
No, not at all. I agree with that completely.
So I think at this point we might as well might as well get this started. So
Oh yeah,
as I said, today would have been his birthday. He was born in 1967,
yeah,
and he had lived to only the age of 34, and unfortunately he passed away while struggling with brain cancer.
yeah. It was something gnarly too. It was a brain stem tumor, right?
Yes, a brain stem tumor.
Yeah,
Tumor.
fucking crazy shit, dude. Crazy shit.
So as I said, and he passed away December 13th of 2001. But so pretty much I'm starting from the beginning here is and so born in 67. In 68 he had moved to Florida, which is where he pretty much stayed based for the most part. So him and his family just they up and they left, and then I've gotten some stuff. I've gotten some information about a couple of interviews with Jane, his mother,
Yeah.
and there was an interview. Somebody was asking, when he got started. So Chuck had started playing at the age of 9, and that was after she had bought him a guitar and got him into classical lessons. But he only stayed in those lessons for less than a year. But a little while later, at a yard sale, he found an electric guitar and just ended up loving it. And Jane also said that he would spend all of his time after school on weekends. He was either playing guitar in his garage or his room. He just wouldn't stop writing and just continuing to teach himself how to play.
And we're lucky that he fucking found that electric dude because
Yeah,
that was probably the turning point in
because
his.
he had started this. She had picked him up the guitar originally because his his older brother had passed away and was just trying to give him a an outlet.
Yeah,
So and then so into his early teenagers, he started really getting into heavy metal. Got a lot of inspiration from like Billy Idol and Kiss and stuff like that.
yeah.
And he actually had formed his first band, and they would actually just play in his garage. And by the time he hit 15, 16, he started playing publicly.
Didn't waste no time.
No, so I mean, from the age of 9 to 15 or 16, I mean that's 6, 7 years. That's a good fucking head start.
Yeah, no, he knew what he wanted to do. He fucking wanted to bring his music out there, dude.
Exactly. So, and then in 1983, he teamed up with Cam Lee and Rick Ross to create the band Mantis.
Yeah,
Not to be confused with the other band Mantis.
yeah. Um, that's pretty much same information that I found is that Mantis was formed around age 16. That's kind of the starting point for his main baby, Death. But yeah, fucking 16 years old. I think that's around the age when I started fucking around, playing music with other
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much from there we start getting to talk about the rise of death.
yep,
So, I in '84 we changed from Mantis to Death, and it all begins going from there.
yep. So in 1984, Mantis released some tracking under the title "Emotional." And later that same year, they had a rehearsal tape that was called Death by Metal, which I actually found it was released under the Mantis name, and then it was released under Death too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of some material that they moved along with the formation of Death. They also did Reign of Terror that year, and they had a short little stint of tours. I found about 4 dates that they did under the name of Death. There might have been more,
Okay.
but in the winter of this year, a live tape is recorded by a magazine called Guillotine Magazine, and it is one of the first official live recordings that the band and both Guillotine Magazine distributed. And during that time, it was pretty much the same lineup. His high school homies, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So Cam and Rick.
Yeah,
So Cam was doing drums and also vocals, and Rick was taking care of secondary guitar.
yep. But during this year, they did a total of 3 rehearsal tapes, 5 live tapes, and 2 demos. So they were not fucking around, dude.
They were putting out work. So, what do you? So you also have some other releases, because I got some information that comes right after a certain release.
So on the following year, that's pretty much what I got for 1984 at this point. But
Okay.
the following year, 85, Infernal Death and Rigor Mortis
Mm-hmm.
demo and Back from the Dead demo are all taken care of that year.
Okay.
He's about 18 at this time, and they had at one point, which we'll get into a little bit later. Chuck moved to the San Francisco Bay Area,
Yep.
and
So
he
I got some information to fill in for you right here. So
yeah.
So shortly after the release of Infernal Death, Rick had actually left the band later, and so later he started beginning work with Scott Carlson and Matt Olivio of the band Genocide, which was later named to Repulsion.
Okay.
Unfortunately, shortly after, Cam had some personal problems that caused him to leave as well, and both Olivio and Carlson would both leave shortly after that. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
The final lineup I had of that year was Chuck Schuldiner on. He's doing vocals at this point as well as guitar.
Yep.
Eric Breck on drums and Eric Mead on bass.
Yep, and that was so not too long after everybody else had left. That's when he moved to San Francisco and he got Eric Brecht.
Yeah.
And then they also recorded the Back from the Dead demo, and Chuck just ended up not happy with how that was, and he moved back to Florida.
Yeah, pretty short stint out in the Bay Area, but I found that they had another like 4-date tour out here,
Mm-hmm.
and they hit, I believe, Berkeley and one place in San Francisco, but they played one place in Berkeley like 3 times.
Okay.
But this year again, Chuck's putting it out: 8 rehearsal tapes, 3 live tapes, and 3 demos.
Yeah.
So the dude was just pouring material out.
Yeah.
Absolutely pouring material out.
So then when we have once we have 86, Chuck got invited to join a band called Slaughter to play on an upcoming album, which he ended up accepting. At this point, he ends up moving to Toronto, Canada.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the problem was this was extremely short-lived, and he made his way back to Florida 2 weeks later, and then after that went back to San Francisco where he met his new drummer Chris Reifert.
Yep, Chris Reifert. And then during this year, also, the first studio album for Death starts.
Mm-hmm.
The first recording of Scream Bloody Gore was abandoned at one point. I know you said something about Chuck was happy with the recording, but there's something wonky going on. Um,
Not on this.
oh, okay, for sure,
It
for
was on a
sure.
different.
Gotcha, my mistake.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, they got it together. Obviously, fucking Scream Bloody Gore came out.
Yeah,
It,
in what, 87? Yeah.
yeah, '87 is when
Yeah.
Scream Bloody Gore came out.
Yeah, and Scream Bloody Gore was the first album that came out, and at this point, Chuck had over 20 different takes of himself, from demos to rehearsal tapes, and then just live recordings.
Yep. '86 they did one rehearsal tape and a demo called Mutilation too. So
Mm-hmm.
as previously said, he was just cranking it out, absolutely
Yeah,
cranking out tracks.
but later after the release, Chuck would move back to Florida, where he would, Chris would no longer be part of the band, and he would actually rejoin with Rick Ross.
Yep.
But he also was able to pick up Bill Andrews on their drums and start working on their second album.
Yep. So if we're kind of bleeding into '87 here, Scream Bloody Gore was released in March of '87 by Combat Records, and in June in Europe by Music for Nations subsidiary label Under One Flag. Their first bigger tour happened this year. They were also playing songs off for Leprosy, which it was another album that they were working on at the time. So they were getting songs already out there before the next album came out. Um, they played some smaller runs, like I said, in 1984 and 1985, but they had a little bit bigger of a tour leg with dates in like Wisconsin, Florida, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah,
9 or 10 dates.
starting doing big tours by
Yeah,
comparison.
exactly. They had their feet wet and they wanted more.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did also find was in '87 that Chuck had found a publishing company. He had founded a publishing company called Mutilation Music, which ended up being affiliated with performance rights organization BMI.
Nice, very nice.
So yeah, then they would be introduced to Terry Butler to pick up on bass.
Yep, 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 yep.
And from there, I mean, yeah, they would put out their second album.
Yep. Leprosy recorded and released in October of '88, again by Combat Records. And then also the Ultimate Revenge video and CD is recorded in October of '88 in Philadelphia. They went on another tour this year. You'll kind of
Lots of
see
touring.
they did not. They got music out. They were like, let's go fucking get it
Yeah,
out
just
there.
go, 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 go. Keep the motion.
Yeah, this one had more than 20 dates, and it was mostly on the eastern side of the U.S. with New York, Florida, Michigan, Pennsylvania. But yeah, fucking. It seems like once they started getting,
Yeah, once they got traction, it just went.
yeah, Chuck had this vision, and he was not going to play. He knew what he wanted to do.
And so you've pretty much got the floor still for a little bit, because I don't
Okay.
have stuff for just a hair.
Okay, for sure. So I'm going to move on just a little bit. So in '89 and '90, they toured Europe. So one of their first tours outside of the U.S. With Gangrene, and they begin recording of Spiritual Healing. Spiritual Healing is released in 1990 by Combat again. But the thing with the tour, Europe tour is Chuck did not attend this tour.
Yeah, he didn't want to do the tour because the tour was after the release.
Yeah. So a gentleman named Louis, and I'm probably going to say the last name wrong, but bear with me. Carrizales, Louis Carrizales did
Looks
vocals
about
on
right.
this tour. Yeah. And obviously, because Chuck didn't want to do it, it caused a little bit of a rift between him and his bandmates.
Yeah.
They were taking his baby on the road, and he wasn't there. Against his wishes. I think that would piss anybody off.
Yeah. So the only note that I've got that would be before that for you is the lineup would remain the same with the addition of Terry Butler on bass until 1990 when James Murphy would replace Rick Ross.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, sorry for going a little bit ahead there. There's bear with us, guys. There's a lot of information, and we're kind of going through it a little fast, but comparatively, there's probably about 70% more on our notes than previous episodes.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
So yeah, pretty much after the deal with the tour and the release of Spiritual Healing, Chuck pretty much just decided he doesn't want to work with full-time band members anymore. He just wanted to deal with studio musicians and live venue musicians, period.
Yeah.
And he would also fire his manager, Eric Grief, but would later settle on rehiring him prior to the following release.
Gotcha.
Then 91, I've got that he picks up. He recruited Sean Reiner for drums and Paul Mastival of Cynic, as well as Steve DiGiorgio to start recording of their fourth album.
Yep.
And the cool thing is Chuck and Steve had already had a friendship when he was originally living in San Francisco.
Okay, nice. So he just brought one of the homies over.
Mm-hmm.
So for 91, I got Recording Human begins in April of this year, later released in the year by Relativity Records. So no more, not on Combat anymore. And then also the Lack of Comprehension video is recorded this year. Then Human Tour of the World starts and is followed by a Christmas tour of Europe. Bassist Steve DiGiorgio is replaced by Scott Carino for about a year, but DiGiorgio would return later. And tour dates were between October to December with about 42 dates. So they went from 4 dates, 9 dates, 20 dates, 40. So they're getting work. They are not starved for being able to go out and do what they want to do.
Yeah, they just keep rolling.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's a common thing you'll kind of notice is that there's a lot of lineup changes, and Chuck just keeps everything rolling.
Yeah, he like I've said probably 5 times, he knew what he wanted to do, and he wasn't going to let any setbacks stop him from continuing with his brainchild.
So so I know you've got.
I got
something for 92 as well.
Yep. So between January and March 92, the Extravaganza tour in Europe is done. Compilation album Fate is released by Relativity Records, and their tour dates were approximately 58 dates this year. So
God damn, that's a lot of shows.
They are putting in work, and the lineup at this time is pretty much the same as it was for his second lineup in 91. You still got, obviously Chuck on guitar vocals, Paul Masvidal on guitar, Sean Reinhart drums, Scott Carino on bass. But as I mentioned, DiGiorgio comes back probably a year, 8 months, a year, 14 months, somewhere around there.
Because it's after that tour is pretty much when he came back. So in 93, Reiner and Masvidal would actually leave to go back to doing work with Cynic, which great band, by the way.
Yeah, Cynic's pretty sick.
Yeah, and those two would actually go to release their album entitled Focus. Now, one thing that was interesting was in September of 93, Chuck would mention the general idea of teaming up with somebody with a Rob Halford-esque, style of singing in an interview with Guitar School.
Okay.
And that would kind of just tease into something that he wants to work on.
Yeah, definitely.
And then
definitely.
Later on, Chuck would end up replacing Paul and and Sean with Gene Hoglan of Dark Angel and Andy LaRocque of King Diamond. To
Nice.
have
Yeah, yeah,
them
yeah.
and to have them on hand for the 5th studio album.
There you go. And kind of touching base on that fifth album, and Individual Thought Patterns is recorded and released this year by Relativity again. And the band tours the U.S. and Europe again. Andy LaRocque, I think you
Yeah,
say
LaRocque.
it, wasn't able to join the tour, but Craig Loserio filled in for the Europe dates, and Ralph Santanola filled in for the U.S. tour and Easter festivals. Um, Europe tour dates were approximately 29 days, and the U.S. was approximately 28 days. So they had two
Still
full months.
another almost 60 days of just
Yeah,
shows.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
And then
it's fucking massive.
um, this same year, '93, the video for The Philosopher, the song Philosopher, is released.
Okay.
So they were getting, seems like a little bit later, they would get, fourth and fifth album, they get an album out, and then they get a video. I mean, we still see that today for singles, like
Yep.
here's our new single, and here's a go on YouTube
Here's,
or whatever and watch
here's the video, or here's the lyric video, whatever, and fucking roll.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. So then we kick into '94.
Yep. Yep.
So '94, the only thing that I could really find was that Chuck ended up playing guitar for a band called Voodoo Cult for one album, and it was called Jesus Killing Machine. But
Yeah.
he would also spend a little bit of time recording a guest solo for Nephobia's '95 release of Hell on, their release of Hell on the track As Ancients Evolve.
Oh, nice. Okay, I haven't heard that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
See if I could pick apart his part. I mean,
It's Chuck. It's a pretty
yeah,
pretty
exactly,
standout
exactly.
style that he has.
So for '94, I couldn't. There wasn't a whole lot of information for '94,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it was kind of like the one lull.
Yeah, but I do speculate that recording of Symbolic started maybe later in the year. I could be completely wrong. They were
It could have even just been done in '95 because they did crank out a bunch of shit.
exactly. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But another thing that was cool that you actually mentioned to me is now, you guys, if you watch Beavis and Butthead, you know that they sit there and they watch MTV and they rip on music videos. And Death's the Philosopher was featured on Beavis and Butthead on March 14th, 1994, in season 4, episode 1, The Wall of Youth. So if you ever want to go check that out, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure it's absolutely
there's a
fucking
clip
hilarious.
and he's making fun of Chuck, something about I want to order some fries. It's and it's fucking Beavis. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That sounds about right. But at the end, during this year, they also ended an 8-year relationship with Relativity Records and signed on with Roadrunner.
Yeah, and I know they stayed with Roadrunner for quite a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
and then so now we can run into '95, which I have information for, you have information for, so we can kind of pass back and forth.
Okay, sounds good.
So, '95, Chuck set up a benefit show called Death for Life, and it was to raise money for a couple of different things. One of them is the National Multiple Sclerosis Society and the Beta, which is birth education, training, and acceptance.
Yeah.
So there was actually an interview that he ended up doing with Ill Literature, and Chuck had told them that my mom works for Beta. If we can make a difference financially or otherwise, given it, if it's just creating mutual awareness, then all the hard work is worth it for the effort. I guess it gives a sense of purpose to people like us, long-haired youths who play heavy metal bands and listen to music. We do have value in society.
Absolutely.
So
let's see. 95. So Symbolic is released in May by Roadrunner Records. They have a tour called Metal to the Masses between June and October, and Full of Hate festivals that were in April of this year. Full of Hate Easter Festival's tour dates were approximately 12 dates, and the Metal to the Masses was approximately 43 dates. So, they're sticking around that 50 to 60 dates. And like I said, these are kind of approximates.
Yeah.
They could have very well easily been home and be like, you know what, we're going to go play the bar around the corner. Why the fuck not? We're bored. But yeah, as I mentioned, Symbolic is released, and then they did another live tape this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of slowed down because
Yeah.
I mean they made it. I wouldn't say they slowed down because they're touring more, but
Mm-hmm.
slowing down was the wrong word. But Chuck Chuck had all this material that he
Yeah.
cranked out when he was a teenager and early
In early
20s.
20s, exactly.
And so, he probably, between touring and trying to balance regular life, didn't have as much time to be able to crank out, demos and rehearsals like he did because he was on the label.
Yeah.
The
And
hard work was done.
now I got a good chunk of stuff that I can kind of take over for a minute here.
Okay, go for
So
it, buddy.
also during this time, there'd be multiple interviews that would come out, and he would openly discuss another type of singer that he would like to work with, and he was always wanting to partner with somebody that would be like Ronnie James Dio.
Okay, yeah.
So that this kind of leads into, after getting back from the Symbolic tour, Chuck actually disbanded Death. He actually disbanded Death, and at this time he ended up going home and working in his home studio, and he announced it to the Death fan club, and the project was Control Denied, and he openly had, was just saying, hey, we're looking for members. So
Yep.
and Gene Hoglan would actually go and say that he was disbanding because Chuck was getting displeased with the record label.
Yeah.
So at this point, Chuck ended up meeting Chris Williams and setting him up as the initial drummer. And through Chris, he would actually meet a guitarist that would later come in to into Death and would take over and Control the Night, Shannon Hom, who was a great guitarist. He would also pull back and get he would also get Scott Clendon to both Control the Night and Death.
Okay, yeah. Reaching into the I mean, there's tons of lineup changes, so he knew people. He knew some people.
Yeah, I mean, between, all the stuff that he's done with Death and going back and forth between Florida and freaking San Francisco, you meet people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's see here.
After recording a couple of the demo tapes for Control Denied, he pretty much decided, you know what, I've got to go and find a singer, and he actually tried to get fucking Warrell Dane from Nevermore, but Warrell was just too busy and couldn't commit. And so after that, he pretty much had to go and put Control Denied on hold for the reason of, he was trying to find the right vocalist, but, the fans of Death were wanting more music, so he actually told an interviewer, Mr. Jeff Wagner, that I do things when I feel they are right. There was label interest in Control Denied, but I felt that the time was right to bring Death back. Believe me, when Control Denied material does come out, it will not be dated.
Okay, nice, yeah.
And
that's pretty true. Control Denied is pretty sick. They it's a little different, but it's fucking rad. It's fucking rad, dude.
Mm-hmm.
If you've only listened to Death and haven't listened to Control Denied, I would recommend definitely going.
I would really recommend it. It's another take. It's the more progressive stuff.
Yeah. And I think the vocal change, from going from kind of harshy death metal vocals and having that other vocalist come in and do almost like power metal vocals. Mm-hmm. It's cool to hear Chuck's playing with something that's maybe, I hate saying it, but like maybe more digestible for the masses.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to do a real like melodic progressive metal project.
Yeah.
So
let's see.
Yeah, and then 97, Chuck had actually made the deal with Nuclear Blast, so God Awful Relapse and or I'm sorry, Roadrunner, and would go to Nuclear Blast. But there was a stipulation that the label would require that Death put out another album before they would actually front anything for Control Denied.
I think that's a pretty good deal, especially since he wanted to, get some more music out to the fans. I think that's a fucking great,
Yeah,
if that's the only stipulation they had, who cares?
yeah,
We know because of all of his demo tapes and everything, like
yeah.
that he did not have a lack of material or skill or ideas to be able to knock that out and do it.
Yeah, so pretty much, yeah, so after that, Chuck had ended up coming out saying that, I want to come back to the project, and he actually put out a statement saying, I don't like having to do what I do vocally with Death. I'm tired of this so-called Death vocal style, night after night after night. I like clean vocals. My other band, Control Denied, I'm just a guitar player. Control Denied takes what I do in Death to the next step. Control Denied is a metal band. We're certainly not going to pull a Metallica on people.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's
yeah,
funny.
I mean, they certainly didn't.
Yeah, no. So the only other thing that I have for that 97 area is the lineup was Chuck Schuldiner, guitar vocals, Shannon Hamm on guitar, like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Scott Clendon on bass, which you mentioned, and Richard Christie on drums.
Yeah, it would be the drummer that they hold on to.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So let's see.
So
98, we ready for 98?
yep, we're ready for 98.
All right, so 1998, Sound of Perseverance is released in September by Nuclear Blast. They
Yeah,
toured in.
Sound of Perseverance was the last album that actually was put out by Death.
Okay, yeah, yeah. They tour in the U.S. and Europe again this year. In Europe, they had about 27 dates, and the U.S. they had about 28 dates.
God damn.
Yeah, no, they when they went on tour, they took two months, probably some more than 2 months to go
Yeah.
put their music out there, man.
Yeah, just get it going, get that headway.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's pretty much what I got for 98, aside from, like I said, Sound of Perseverance is released.
Yeah. And so 99, Chuck would actually recruit the vocalist for Control Denied, which would be Tim Amar, just before the Sound of Perseverance tour.
Okay.
And it would also bring in the longtime friend and former bandmate Steve DiGiorio to replace Scott. And
Okay.
he also said he'd ended up stating about Scott. It was something that needed to be done that I hated to do. Scott's a great bass player. We had some good times, but it was inevitable.
Yeah. So if we're ready for 99,
Mm-hmm.
Control Denied releases their Fragile Art of Existence under Nuclear Blast. And Century Media also re-releases Death's first 5 albums as a picture vinyl box set.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. One other thing that I didn't notate is they did have it was either like a flyer or poster, something extra in the box set that was the album artwork of Scream Bloody Gore. So
Oh, yeah.
a nice little throwback to their first album.
Yeah,
But you
be
got the 5, yeah, you got the 5 albums.
And then, so, yeah, 1999, they would release that album, but that's where problems started showing up.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So in the spring of '99, after recording the album, Chuck would have a press release informing of his condition. Towards the end of our, and I quote, towards the end of our time in the studio, I started experiencing some pain in my upper neck, which I initially thought was pinched nerve or strained muscle. Having completed the recording, I consulted a chiropractor, followed by a massage therapist and an acupuncturist who would recommend I go in for an MRI. Well, I was right about the pinched nerve, but unfortunately, it was being caused by a brainstem tumor. I am in my 4th week of radiation therapy with some of the most sought-after physicians in the field. I am also blessed with the immense love and support from my family and friends, which is such a big part of getting through something like this. To try to put this into simple terms, it is obviously difficult for me to say this. It is a mind, body, and soul expanding experience. The treatment has been going well with this type of aggressive radiation, the prognosis is very good. Patience is something that I have learned to embrace in my 14 years of living music, and now is the time to further master the art of patience in my road of recovery. I've always felt a personal connection between music and the fans who support it. It is that support that goes beyond the music itself, which I appreciate with all my heart and soul.
And he sounded pretty positive, man.
Yeah, I mean, from everything that I've heard, is he was just just a positive dude, and just a very just straightforward guy.
Yeah, just fucking. There's such a stigma about metalheads, and being kind of like a alternate culture, and maybe like maybe not the nicest people, and if you look at his lyrics, you might think like, oh man, this guy's kind of dark, but yeah, he seemed like a really legit fucking dude.
I mean, there's one of my favorite interviews where he's sitting there, he's like holding a cat, and he's wearing this cat shirt, and just like, yeah, I love my kitties, dude. And he's just fucking just being silly, dude.
Typical metalhead shit, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it is some typical. But the same year, he would also undergo surgery and would emerge successful with that one.
Good.
And
yeah.
after the surgery and everything, he put another statement saying, "I'm alive and letting the metal flow. I've finished writing the last song for the Control Denied album, 100% trend-free. The responses to The Fragile Art of Existence have been awesome. Thank you for embracing it. I also want to thank everyone around the world for the incredible support you have shown me. I've read the emails and the letters and appreciate your kind words and honesty. I'm settling down here in Florida, feeling good and looking forward to getting busy again with a new record and tour. Thank you to all my metal brothers and sisters in person with some new material. Shazam."
Shazam.
Yes, a Shazam.
Shazam. Before we track a little too far, I do want to kind of touch back on that five album re-release.
Mm-hmm.
Scream Bloody Gore included 4 bonus tracks.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of extra. It wasn't just the just the albums as they were, but the re-release did have some bonus tracks on there. Just wanted to make sure to throw that out before we keep going.
And then unfortunately during the recovery and just a year later, Chuck would begin feeling sick again and just be a lot more intense.
Sucks.
So later on, the Thrash of Titans show would be put on to benefit not just him, but also Chuck Billy of Testament to help raise cash donations.
Yeah, nice.
But during this time, he'd be suffering from all the horrible side effects of the experimental chemotherapy, medication, and cancer.
Yeah. To circle back a little bit to one of his quotes about Control Denied, it was about the year 2000. While battling his diagnosis, he was writing material for the second Control Denied album, which was titled When Man and Machine Collide, which unfortunately still has not seen a release, which is unfortunate as hell.
Yeah, I know there was some word around between the band and his family and then the label that was actually going to be putting it out. And
yeah,
there was some stuff that was going on. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, no, there's probably so much, what is it, bureaucracy or whatever the fuck they call it that they had to get through, and it's fucking unfortunate, but there's still hope. There's still hope that maybe one of these days.
Yeah, maybe we can get that material. But so in November of 2001, he would actually start showing signs of improvement, but he would later be hospitalized by pneumonia. And from there, that's when he passed away in the hospital.
Yeah.
December 13th, 2001.
It's fucking unfortunate.
Yeah.
But a little bit lighter note for that same year, 2001, Death Live in LA, as well as live in
Eindhoven.
Eindhoven
Yeah.
are released that year. And if you haven't watched any live footage of Death, those are fucking incredible for the time
Yeah,
that
the
they were
sound
recorded.
quality,
And
the
sound
mix is
quality,
great,
it's so
and
fucking good.
the performance is fucking top notch.
They're absolute. I remember one of the first. Well, I've listened to Death here and there, but I remember when I was hanging out over at your house, you
Mm-hmm.
were like, "Dude, have you seen these?" And it was like, "Fuck, dude, no." And you showed them to me, and it's like, "Holy shit, man! Like,
Yeah.
I get it. I
Yeah,
get
and
it."
those were actually recorded back in '98.
Oh, okay, okay. So it took them a little while to actually push them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they were pushed out just during the time that he was in recovery, just
Yeah.
to kind of help everything along.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, no, like you said, unfortunately, he did pass away in
Mm-hmm.
December of that year after fighting for 2.5 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So
It's it's a tragedy, but
yeah, it is.
you know, he fought tooth and nail, and he put out he was just a huge influence to not only, you know, the music scene, but, you know, everybody that he was in touch with.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the band. So one of the things that I do want to talk about, I don't have a lot of information on it, and I know that trying to find information on it wasn't the easiest. Was the Death to All tour.
Yeah.
So that was actually started by former members of Death to not only, you know, help raise awareness for the music, but to, you know, to celebrate the legacy that he pretty much that he put out.
Yep. So Death to All is a band that tours with previous members of Death, friends. They play Death songs in celebration of Chuck Schuldner's life and musical career. And what's pretty cool is they're still doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
this year they're doing the Scream of Perseverance tour from mid-May to the end of June. So if I'm not mistaken, it's already started.
Yeah, it just started, I think.
Yeah, and the following line is Gene Hoglan on drums, Steve DiGiorio's back on bass, Bobby Coble on
Yeah,
guitar.
and he was the guitarist in the Symbolic release.
Oh, okay, nice, nice, nice. And then Max Phelps doing guitar and vocals.
Mm-hmm.
These musicians are parts of other bands such as Dark Angel, Death Clock,
Yeah,
Testament, Control Denied, Sadist, Cynic. And it's reported that they'll be playing Scream Bloody Gore in its entirety,
which
as
was the
well as,
first album.
yep, first album, along with all kinds of other splattered tracks from their whole career. So I'm sure it's
Yeah.
going to be a fucking. If there's a certain song that was like a hitter back in the day, they're probably going to play it.
Yeah, there's a good chance that, you know, like Pull the Plug's gonna get played.
Yeah.
That's a pretty standard one.
Yeah, and if
Or
like Crystal
Suicide
Mountain,
Machine,
yeah, Crystal Mountain, it's probably going to be on the set list.
Philosopher,
Yeah, but they have a supporting band called Cryptopsy playing with them.
and they're a super sick fucking techy death metal band from Canada that's been around
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, as I mentioned, it was founded by Chuck's family and friends, not only to celebrate his life, but also to help raise funds for cancer research. And it's cool that the homies aren't letting, you know, 23 years later this December, that they're not letting his music be forgotten. The scene very much is still alive for that, you know, that old school death metal, and they're not putting it down.
And I mean, not even just old school death metal, but I mean, it's what evolved progressive metal and evolved tech death into what it is today.
Yeah, definitely. Circling kind of around benefit shows, because Death to All was kind of, you know, founded on the idea of benefits, but there were a ton of benefit shows to help Chuck fund his bills regarding his illness, starting somewhere in the year 2000. So when he was still alive, you know, his homies saw the call to action and was like, okay, cool, let's do something. But
yeah, we need to
Yeah,
to really help this man out. And
yeah. But there were, I mean, the list goes absolutely on and on for the supporting bands and the countries they played in. But I got a few names here to
mhm.
help kind of give you an idea. No Return, Symbiosis, Shadow Breed, Outburst, Sacred Sin, Grog, Bloodstream, and Zero Tolerance, to name a few from, like I said, a huge fucking list.
Yeah, I
And
think it was like what, like 40, 50 different fucking band names at least.
easy, dude, easy over the years. But they played like Norway, Spain, Canada, Greece, Bulgaria, U.S. They were fucking everywhere.
And they still are doing everywhere, because I know this
Yeah,
year's Death to All, it's the states, and I mean they have 5 dates in California alone.
yeah. No, it would be cool if we could make it out to
Hmm.
the one that's kind of near us, but we'll just have to fucking see what happens, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah. So since then, the guys have gone on. They've continued to do their own thing, but like I said,
yeah,
they've also come together to kind of help celebrate, everything that Chuck has put out,
yeah,
which I think is really important.
absolutely. Kind of circling back to releases before we carry on too far. In 2004 and 2005, um, Chuck Schuldiner Zero Tolerance and Zero Tolerance 2 albums, compilations, something like that,
Yeah,
are released. It features demo tracks for the second Controlled Denial album. So, as I mentioned, there isn't like the
the
second Controlled.
full album
Yeah,
release,
it's not
because
out.
they only ever got like halfway done with recording.
Yeah. And then some other Death songs. Unfortunately, there's no vocals on the Controlled Denied demo rehearsal tracks, but I think it's a good kind of
Yeah,
view into the.
and the
Go
thing
ahead,
that I
buddy.
did see about those the Death songs, it's a lot of like the old songs that were on the old demos before they actually got recorded.
That's super rad.
So it's like a lot of the stuff from the Death by Metal and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think it's a good like little kind of like a window into
Mm-hmm.
some of the unpolished and raw, just the way that Chuck wrote his stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
how his mind works. So I think those are definitely worth the listen to kind of get an in like I said, kind of like an idea of like how his mind worked,
Yeah, I
what it
mean, the
what it looked like.
dude was a mastermind at what he did.
I didn't really have like now I've listened to Death here and there, and I didn't have like a true understanding, and I would even go as far as saying appreciation for the shit that he was writing until fuck 3 days ago when we were in the middle of this research and I was looking up some tablature for these songs, and it's just like holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
and now that you've listened to more of it, you're starting to hear, the influence that other bands were starting to get.
Absolutely, there's this riff in Without Judgment that it's like a lot of the like metalcore that I listened to in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the 2000s. Like this riff is like holy shit, dude. Like I could see whether it was influenced directly or just because of the music that was around it. It's like fuck, dude. Okay, like this guy was onto some shit. Fucking what is it? 40, 35, 30 years ago now, dude.
Yeah,
It's
I
fucking
mean,
crazy.
because I mean, Without Judgment, that was off of Symbolic, so that was '95. So yeah,
Yeah,
almost 30
that's
years ago.
It's fucking crazy, dude. But if you're a guitar player, definitely check out some tabs. See what you think of them. You know, try to try to put if you play metal, look at those tabs and be like,
Yeah, I
okay, where
mean,
have I seen this in more recent stuff?
yeah, and I mean, a lot of the bands, even if they aren't directly influenced by them, there's a lot of bands that are gonna be indirectly influenced by them at this point,
Yeah, definitely,
just
definitely.
because the bands that they're influenced by are being influenced by them from forever ago.
Yeah, fucking,
And
it's crazy.
yeah, it's absolutely wild, especially if you start listening to like a lot of the like the current tech death stuff. It's like you hear the influences from like Obscura and Necrophagist, but then you go back and you start listening back and you're like, oh, I can. You go listen to like Obscura and Necrophagist and you go, oh shit, I can hear those death influences.
Yeah,
in
Yeah.
the overall writing and production and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just like I had said. This was one that I just thought it was going to be really important because for me, Chuck was I didn't start listening to Death until well after he passed, which unfortunate. But I fell in love listening to his music, and realistically, if it wasn't for listening to Death and Control the Night and stuff, I probably wouldn't play guitar. Musically, I probably wouldn't be doing anything musically ever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like I said, it's important to me because he's my biggest influence.
Yeah. No, I knew how important this episode was for you, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And when you, like I said, when you brought it to me, it was just like, fuck yeah, dude, like 100% support. Like, let's
Yeah.
fucking dive in as far as we can. And I know we kind of went fast through the timeline, and there was kind of a lot of fucking information that we threw at you. But if you're wanting more, um, I don't know if we'll try to do like an annual or something like that. Maybe just come
Yeah.
back and try to find some more
Kind of
information that we didn't.
rehash because I mean, there's so much that's out there. There's a good handful of biographies, and the biggest source of the information for us was the Emptywords website, which is a really huge thing because that was put together by the people that were supporting him during his battle with cancer.
Yeah.
You know,
That,
there were
yeah.
there were emails that he was talking to where he was talking to the people that were running the website and going, "Hey, this is what I've got going," and stuff like that. So if you guys would ever want to check it out and kind of want to read into some of this information, I know we kind of just glanced over it for the most part, but there's still a lot more that we just didn't get to cover.
Yeah. And
A
you've
lot of
been,
it's there.
yeah, you've also been posting our notes in the Only Slams Dropbox too. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want to go back and look at what we have written down and kind of
Mm-hmm.
cross-reference and do your own little studying, that material will be available for you
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, buddy.
Yeah, as I said, for me, he's just it's a huge inspiration for me, and I feel like even if you're not super into death metal or even like old school death metal, it's still worth a listen just to not even just to pay respects, but just to try to sit there and analyze it.
Yeah, history lesson, musical history lesson right there.
I mean, just like even just analyze the music, just because there's such off the wall stuff that he was doing that it still stands out.
Yeah, no, he made it fucking work. What is that one track where the intro starts at like, what is it, like 75 or like 120 BPM, like real slow, and then it drops into like 220 or some shit, and the transition, like, it's such a fucking huge jump in BPM, but it works so
Probably
fucking
pull the
well, dude.
plug.
I think you're right, but it's insane to see. And then even for like modern breakdowns, like there's a couple like riffs. Like I said, I was looking at some of the tablature, and there's like these like chuggy like da 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 da, and it's like, fuck, dude, like if that doesn't show me that there is influence from this band in the music we listen to today, I don't know what the fuck does. I don't
Yeah.
know, and it's like, fuck, this is, if the drums are playing halftime on a China, it would fit
Mm-hmm.
into a modern breakdown. It's like, fuck, dude,
Yeah.
it's mind blowing shit.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. Just the stuff that they put out, and just yeah, it's awesome. And
Yeah.
I hope that his music continues to inspire more guitar players down the line, more songwriters.
Well, it's gotten me excited. You know the genres that I'm into. Like I
Mm-hmm.
hate to say it, but cookie cutter deathcore.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty standard metalcore stuff like that. And there, like I said, there is some influence, but learning these songs from Death and I'm normally in a drop tuning on my guitar, and these are all the materials in
Everything's D
D
standard.
standard, and it makes me learn like it pushes my ability, and it's making me excited to learn these songs because they are different from what I'm usually, when I'm just noodling around on the guitar. And it's fucking. There's some fun riffs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a player, fucking check them out.
Yeah.
Dive into, get a get an idea of what Chuck was doing and fucking play
Yeah.
them. And if you
And
don't like it, whatever. But this is fucking exciting shit.
mm-hmm. So, for anybody that hasn't checked them out before, I would definitely recommend, obviously listen to all the music. But
Yeah,
if you're looking for like standout recommendations, I mean, for me, it's hard to go wrong with Symbolic. That's kind of the album that got me to start listening to them, and it's a nice blend of death metal, but that's where the really progressive stuff started setting in for the death sound.
yeah,
But if you want something that's a little bit more of the classic death metal style, definitely Leprosy. It's
yeah.
hard to go wrong with either of those two albums.
Yeah, I've been finding that I'm enjoying Symbolic and Leprosy the most, but that's not to say that there's not bangers on every fucking album.
Yeah, I mean, Individual Thought Patterns is great.
Yeah,
The Sound of Perseverance is very progressive metal, if that's what you're looking for. If you want kind of the more thrashy, then you might want something more like Spiritual Healing.
mm-hmm.
You know, Human's a great album altogether. It's like that nice little blend where it's still, it's still death metal, but that's where they start dabbling into that progressive feel. And
But yeah,
I would also
yeah,
recommend, if you want to, check out the live videos that they did. The Live in
yep,
Eindhoven is great,
yep. Those are
and
actually in
Live
my
in LA
notes.
was awesome.
Yeah, those are my recommendations in the notes. Is to get the visual, get the fucking audio, the auditory, get all of it, because those live tapes. Those live tapes are fucking entertaining as shit.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean, you get to see, the amount of effort that everybody puts into what they're doing.
yeah,
It's
he,
not it's not that anybody's slouching or anything. There's there's a lot of work going on.
mhm. Plus, Chuck's fucking cool to watch when he's doing his weird little fucking
Mm-hmm.
thing, like leady riffs and doing vocals, and it's like he was doing a lot, man. He
Yeah,
had
there
a he
was
had
a
a lot
there was
going
a
on.
lot going on, and then obviously, Control Denied is awesome. If even though they only put out the one album, it is great.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely,
a good one all the way through. I would recommend for anybody to check it out.
definitely. Well, what do you think, dude? Should we get our wrap ups going?
Yeah, I think we should about wrap this up here, because I mean, note wise, I don't got much anything else right now.
No, I just got my one paragraph about my wrap up, and that's pretty much it, dude.
Yeah,
I'll go and let you close out the episode. So let me do my wrap up first.
yeah,
Um, I'm going to read it word for word of what I wrote, because it just flowed out. Despite all the lineup changes, Chuck spearheaded his brainchild into a massive library as seen as the information we previously covered, and the legacy of Death/Control Denied will stand the test of time in the metal community, and will continue to inspire the genre and subgenres, in my opinion. All I could say is thank you to all involved in Death and Control Denied for help building a genre that I fucking love. It is strange to think about what, quote, death metal would be without Chuck and his bandmates' influence on the genre. How different would it be? It's all speculation, but I believe that homage and respect to one of the most influential metal musicians is absolutely necessary.
yeah. I mean, like I said, for me, Chuck was a huge influence for just playing guitar in general. So I mean, I have nothing but the utmost respect for everything that was done, and it's just I'm kind of at a loss of words,
Yeah,
but I feel that it it's the right thing to do to celebrate his life, celebrate the legacy that he put out, and you know appreciate what came of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, with that, I just, yeah, I've got nothing.
It's all good, buddy. I know this is kind
Yeah,
of hits a spot for you, dude. But
yeah, it really does.
um,
But yeah,
yeah.
I would
But
say, I'm gonna wrap this up with a line that Chuck would say, and he did it in the live in LA. I can't get the audio to work for it right now, but guys, keep the metal faith alive. That
absolutely.
it's a kind of an important saying there, because that was right before everything went down.
Yeah. But as Syntax Scholar put it in the chat earlier, we all got to get a BC Rich Stealth, man.
Yep. Speaking of BC Rich Stealth, they released the tribute models long time ago, but they are still out there and they're expensive, but they are 2 spec.
They are fucking sexy too. I've never been a BC Rich guy myself, but I saw this fucking guitar and I was like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but like we've been saying, today's a day to celebrate and pay homage.
Definitely.
So since we got a little bit of time, we can kind of pay attention and chat for a little bit.
Yeah. Is there any thoughts or any points that you want to touch on?
any odd
Put
questions,
it in the chat.
shit like
Right.
that.
Right.
Now's the time to do it.
I mean, Spike, yeah, metal.
Yeah, I saw Spike saying where leprosy is where he started for death, which it's great.
Yeah, he was a fucking absolute unit. He
Dude,
was a
yeah,
fucking
dude,
absolute
especially
unit.
if you watch the live in LA stuff, he's out there, he's fucking shirtless, he's just fucking shredded and shredding, dude. It's ridiculous.
Shredded square, dude.
Yeah. Super shred. Man, just and to think, he passed away at 34. It's just,
I know,
it's
dude.
rough to think about.
Yeah, no.
But you know what?
We're so close to that age. It's fucking crazy to think about like how little life you and I have experienced, and it's just like that is fucking so close,
Well, hey, at least he broke the 27 rule.
That's true. I was talking to my mom about it a little bit. She was like, "Oh, he's not part of the 27 club." I'm like,
No.
"Nah, he too cool for that shit."
Yeah. I mean, he beat it by 7 years.
Oh, so 27 plus 7 club.
Yeah. But
God damn it.
It's unfortunate how he passed, and I hope that this helps. If you hadn't listened to any of the stuff and you haven't if you never listened to any of the stuff, I hope this kind of sheds some new light and maybe something that you go and you check out and listen to. And if you've already listened to him, then fucking listen to him some more.
Yeah, definitely.
If anybody's been paying attention to what I've been listening to on Spotify, it's been literally Death and Control Denied like all week.
Oh yeah, well, even when we were having our research sessions in the Discord, dude, it was like, all right, what do you listen to? All right, listen party, and it's fucking death.
We had the one night we did Control Denied.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, the other date of celebration is December 13th, where that's what I'm going to be listening to.
Absolutely.
And, I hope that you guys do too.
Yeah, no, this is some heavy shit, man. Fucking 34 is too young. Fucking cancer fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah, fuck cancer.
But we were fortunate to get so much material from him, and it's crazy to think about how much more shit, and if he was still alive to this day, what else he could have. Exactly, dude. I'm sure Control Denied probably would have had like 7 albums. Fucking
probably.
Death would probably have like a dozen albums. But yeah. It's fucking sad, but he did leave us a legacy, and
inspired a whole genre of music.
Yeah.
In this case, multiple genres at this point, because I mean, like I was saying, tech death, progressive death metal, they wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. Nope, it might have come along somehow, but it wouldn't be the way that we know it today.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a very different thing, a different beast altogether.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out, people who
Yeah, I do
fucking
appreciate you guys.
sat around, watched the stream. I know we threw a fucking lot at you. Our notes were probably 70% more, so we kind of just fucking
Just
powered through the information.
yeah, we didn't do the normal bullshitting and stuff. Just
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we got that information out there. So, like I
Yeah.
said, I'll get the link right now if you guys wanted to kind of look into more of that stuff. You know,
It's a cool website. There's a lot to fucking, there's tabs on tabs, and each page, I mean, the fucking font is pretty small, so there's a fuckload of information on there.
Yeah.
And what I thought was really cool is I think it's the Emptywords tab. I might be wrong about this, but you can write your own little like it's a memorial book kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you could write
The
your
guest
own
book.
like little exactly. It's a guest book, so you could write your own little like hey Chuck's music did this for me. This is my favorite album. Thank you kind of thing. It's a cool little thing they did.
Yeah.
And what I was reading, unfortunately, that website looks like it hasn't been updated since about like 2015 or 16. But in that guest book, it might be like automated. But when the guest books fill out, they print them out and they send them to his family. So
yeah,
they
actually send it to his mom and stuff. So
I'm sure if you guys pop in there and say some nice things, if they're still getting those books out to them,
yeah, there's
I'm sure it means the world to her.
Yeah, and you know what? There's actually I'm actually looking at it right now, and there's been a couple of posts from today.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
I mean that's super rad, and I just feel like it's if you want to know how everything went down, this is going to be the place to get a good amount of your information. And as like he was saying, is stuff I believe still goes to Jane, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good way to let the family know what his influence is on your life and what his music has done for you.
All right, guys. Well, as always, thank you so much for popping out. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I know it means a lot to him, and I appreciate the viewership as well. And sorry if this tone of this episode was a little bit like heavier. Like you said, we kind of bullshit and we joke and we laugh.
We say things, stupid shit, but
this was important, and I think it was more appropriate to be kind of hey, this is what happened. This is what we found, and fucking check it out.
Yep. So, like I said, went ahead, posted the Emptywords link. Obviously, if you're not in the Discord, that's where you're gonna get all the updates on what's going on when we're doing episodes. And then there's also the Spotify link for the Only Slams. That way, you can check out the music that we're gonna be reviewing, music that we've already reviewed, stuff like that.
Yep.
Speaking of, I need to get your new one on there.
No worries, man. No worries.
So,
but next episode is going to be a little ways off. I know you got some shit you got to take care of for a couple weeks, but
work life stuff.
Yeah, but we're not stopping. It's just going to take us a little longer to try to get some shit dialed in for this. Because
I've got all my research done for the next one. It's just a matter of we just need to get the time coordinated to do it.
Yep.
So we're doing Within Destruction and The Ghost Inside.
Pretty different subgenres there, but I think it'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. I mean, it's Within Destruction. It's going to be obnoxiously heavy. And as you keep saying, Ghost Inside, it's Windbreaker Core.
It's Windbreaker Core. Short hair, big plugs, natty ice.
Yeah. Natty Ice, dude. Natty Light.
Nintendo, we are going to be doing All That Remains on a future episode. But
that's a future episode. That's yeah, I think you said that one's going to be for episode 5, and I think I'm going to pair that with Fallujah.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Kind of get it away from the heavy for a little bit.
Yeah. Little.
Because the next couple episodes are talking about some real heavy fucking bands.
Yeah, the Acrania and Vulvodynia episode is fucking.
It's following right after Within Destruction, so
yeah, so it'll be
buttholes puckered.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking good though, guys. As you said, thanks for coming out, thanks for checking it out. Fucking thanks for being some of the day oneers. I know this, but you guys are fucking day oneers in my opinion. Thanks for the support, dudes.
Yeah, and we're just gonna keep, we're just gonna keep working it out and keep it rolling.